What's up guys, Nox here, hope everyone's having a good day. Welcome to Monster Hunter Rise Tips and Tricks. In part 1 I want to focus on entry level tips to help give a smooth start into your Monster Hunter Rise experience. Tip number 1, adjust your settings. The first thing we want to do is press the plus button to open our menu, go all the way over to the right and click on options. The first thing we'll do here is go into our game settings, down to player silhouette. We want to make sure that this setting is not turned off. We have 5 types to choose from, but here for demonstration purposes, I'll just leave it at type 1. Now with our player silhouette turned on, anytime our hunter is visibly blocked by a monster, we will still see this ghost-like silhouette, which will be really helpful. For instance, if we have some kind of multi-monster chaos going on, or if we're just stuck in a corner with a monster, we will still be able to keep track of what's going on, even if we can't see our hunter directly. Heading back into the options, our next stop will be controls. First thing we want to look at here are the button hold settings, which will dictate how long we have to hold a button to confirm any action. By default this is set to long, but it's definitely recommended you set this to short to save some time and make it much more convenient in the long run. Here's mounting your palamute with the button hold settings at long, and here's the same thing with the button hold setting at short. Much quicker, right? Our next stop in the controls are the sheath settings. While auto sheath sounds good on paper, we want to change this to manual sheath. This will keep our hunter from auto sheathing his weapon at any unwanted moment, which can potentially lead to a lot of trouble in the middle of a fight, as our hunter would be stuck in the sheathing animation, leaving you unable to dodge or block an incoming attack. The last stop in our options for now will be the camera. As everything else, you should adjust this to fit your own personal preferences, but the recommendation here is going down to camera distance and setting this to 100, as this will give you the most immersive experience and allow you to have the widest possible field of view. Tip number 2, make full use of the training area, which is perfect because we're already here. The training area is something that definitely should not be ignored. It's perfect for general weapon practice, as well as trying out any weapon we might be curious about. The game gives us one of each weapon type for free when we start out, so we can jump in here at any time to try them out without having to jump into a hunt and worrying about figuring out the moves while fighting the monster. We have our trusted training dummy in the middle of the area, as well as a shooting range with moving targets. If we come over here, we have our friend Sekirai the trainer, who will allow us to adjust various settings for the training area when we talk to him and go into the training options. But weapon training isn't all the training area is good for. We also get to try out some of the bigger mounted installations like the ballista and the cannons. And aside from that, the training area is a great place to practice using the wire bug to move around and explore. The training area also has a sort of hidden away area, which I challenge all the newcomers to find and reach. And let us know in the comments below how many tries it took you to get there. Tip number 3, create and use item loadouts. This will be super helpful as it saves us a bunch of time and makes sure that we never go out on hunts unprepared. For this, we'll head over to our item box, select manage items, and then go into transfer items. Here we'll have the option to press ZL or ZR to switch between our item pouch, which are the items we carry with us on our hunts, and the items stored in our item box. What we want to do now is switch to the item box and select the items we want to have with us in our hunts. Once we've selected all the items we want, we're going to go back out to the Manage Items tab, go down to Item Loadouts, and here we can choose whichever slot we like and press X to register our loadout. With our item loadout registered, we can now go to any item box in the game and super quickly restock our item pouch with our pre-selected items. We can even select our item loadouts during a quest at any of our camps. This will allow us to quickly resupply all of our items and get back into the fight as fast as possible. Tip number 4, make use of Lifepowders. If we open up our crafting list from the Manage Items tab at the item box or from our menu, we will by default have Lifepowders at the top of the second page. If this is still listed as question marks for you, all you have to do is craft it once and they will become visible. The reason we want to make use of Lifepowders is because they allow us to heal any ally that is nearby. This includes all hunters we might be playing with, as well as all palicos and palamutes. They're a great item to have on us at any stage in the game and make an awesome addition to our item loadouts. Tip number 5, equipment loadouts. For this, we'll go back to our item box, go into the Manage Equipment tab, all the way down to Equipment Loadouts, and just like for our item loadouts, we will have multiple slots to register our equipment. Now, this is super convenient as we can now switch this out on the fly as well. Tip number 6. What to do when hitting a wall. When hitting a wall in Monster Hunter, it's generally a good idea to check and make sure our current gear is up to date. As armor and weapons can and should be upgraded, we definitely want to keep those up to the task. That goes for the equipment of our buddies as well. If a specific monster is giving us trouble, it might be worth looking into the monster's strengths and weaknesses and equipping ourselves accordingly. Perhaps even considering a different weapon choice. This leads nicely into our tip number 7. Make use of the Hunter's Notes. Here we'll find a large library of information on all sorts of things, like weapon controls, basic game mechanics, and also detailed information on large monsters' weaknesses and hit zones that can further help us take them down. We can also find information on where to find certain small monsters and endemic life that we've encountered so far. Tip number 8. Keep an eye on your optional subquests. If we talk to Hinoa or Minoto at a quest counter, they will allow us to accept optional subquests. These are small and easy tasks that we can complete while we are out on our hunts. These will supply us with extra crafting and upgrade materials. There are also sometimes subquests that will reward us with Lagni apples, which are a pretty limited resource that we want to look out for. We'll get back to those a little later. Tip number 9. Eating before going out on a hunt. In Monster Hunter, we always have the opportunity to have a nice meal before going out on an adventure. We can eat at any of the canteens in Kimura Village, as well as in our camps while out on a quest, and it is highly recommended to do so. Eating will provide us with various buffs and extra effects that can range from extra health, stamina and attack power, increased elemental resistances, to even gaining extra reward money sometimes. We can also register our usual meals to have quick access to our favorite combination of dangos. And as a small bonus tip here, if we accepted a quest and can't remember if we've already eaten, which happens quite often to me, all we have to do is check the quest info in the upper left corner. If we already ate, a Dango symbol will appear right next to where it says press CR to depart. Tip number 10. Utilizing the Buddy Plaza. A lot of you probably already know by now that the Buddy Plaza is incredibly important, because it provides us with various services. As this is a largely covered topic already, I will try to make this a quick run through and explain as I go. Right over here we have our buddy handler Yori, who will help us scout and hire new palicos and palamutes, as well as renaming any we've already hired. To the back over here we have Feline Chief Kogarashi, who is in charge of the Meowcenaries. This is a sort of minigame that allows us to send out a group of palicos and or palamutes on their own little quests to accumulate more crafting materials for us. To the far left side of the plaza we have this little boat that takes us over to the training area. Down here we have the Argosy and Rondine the Trader, who essentially will allow us to farm certain items by sending some of our buddies out on trade routes. This is super useful as it allows us to easily increase our stock of crafting materials for items such as max potions, barrel bombs, Lifepowders, etc. Keep in mind that any item you want to farm, you need to have at least one off in your item box beforehand. Over here we have the buddy board, which is where we can manage everything relating to our buddies, such as changing their equipment, their behavior, and the gear they bring on quests. And right next to the entry we came in, we have the buddy expert Shirobe, who handles the buddy dojo and is where we manage our buddies' training sessions. And lastly, we have this big old tree in the back over here, which we can climb up to visit the Kahoot nest. This is also a very important thing to take note of, as it is pretty easily missed or forgotten, and can give us some very handy items. Items will pile up here as we are out adventuring, and it is recommended to check back here every few quests to pick up what our feathery friend has collected. We can even get Lagni apples from here, which as mentioned earlier are a very limited resource. And you might have noticed on our quick tour through the Buddy Plaza that in multiple instances we had the choice to use those Lagni apples. Using a Lagni apple will boost the result of anything they are used for, such as trading, the Meowcenaries, and buddy training, which makes these super valuable. Tip number 11. Endemic Life. The endemic life we find throughout the maps can provide us with various advantages in battle, and there are plenty of different ones to find that help us out. I specifically want to talk about two little guys here today that are found very readily around the maps. One being the escargot, which is a large snail with a green shell that will emit a green mist when we set it down. This will heal us and anyone who comes into contact with it, and this healing mist actually stays around for a pretty good amount of time. And number 2 being the lantern bug, which when we pick it up will give us extra protection in form of a red protective bar right above our health. I also made a video explaining the effects of the lantern bug, the extra red bar, and how they work exactly. So anyone who's curious or interested can go check that out. Tip number 12. Don't be afraid to go online. I know for some of us it can feel overwhelming or intimidating to play online with people we don't know, but the Monster Hunter community is a super friendly and largely speaking super glad to help anyone out community, which also relates to our prior tip number 6, what to do when hitting a wall. There will be tons of people happy to help anyone who might be struggling with a certain quest. I highly encourage everyone to give hunting in a group a shot, but if that's just not your cup of tea, then that's totally cool as well, of course. Tip number 13, and the most important tip of today's video, is have fun. Play the game at your own pace and find your own playstyle, because having fun and enjoying your Monster Hunter journey is the most important thing and what this is all about. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to see you guys back for any future videos on the channel. Until then, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.